Welcome back to the Minuteman Initiative. So, we are continuing our episode series, which is the modern Minuteman layout. Today, we're going to talk about body armor, which is going to be part 4 of our series. So, if you haven't caught any of our series so far, definitely tune back into episode 1 and work your way up to this point. But if you want to do things out of order because you're a rebel like that, that's cool too. We're going to jump right into it and talk about body armor. It's an important topic. It's something that you got to understand. We're going to break it down as well as we can, talk about ratings, talk about types, talk about what you should probably be looking at getting or setting up for that kind of modern Minuteman mission. So I hope you guys enjoy the episode, and thanks for tuning in. Dude, have you ever been listening to somebody and for a fact that they're wrong, but they're just telling you the information so confidently that you're just like, maybe I'm wrong. Well, whether you realize it or not, I delivered information to you like that in the last episode, and not intentionally, but I want to set the record straight. I got a correction to make. I completely and utterly slaughtered and butchered it. The conversion from liters to cubic inches. So I had a little cheat sheet pulled up. It was funny because I even said, I was like, I've always been confused by this, but check it out. It's really easy. And I was just completely wrong. I'm obviously still confused by it. So in the last episode, modern Minuteman layout part 3, where we're talking about rucksacks. If you haven't listened to it, that's what we're referring to. I just want to make a quick correction since I can't edit my own voice in an existing podcast, but it's also in the description on that episode too. I have the correction made. So just to clarify, the conversion for liters to cubic inches when you're talking about pack measurements is 1 liter equals 61 cubic inches. And somehow I had it completely, not just backwards, but just completely wrong. I thought somehow, what did I have? My conversion was it
was 1 to 1,000.
Yeah. So
far.
Off. Yeah. So for example, 2,500 cubic inches is equal to 40 liters. So yeah, completely different. I was like, 40 liters is 4,000 cubic inches. So no, just wanted to make a quick correction there because I was just I thought I just had that figured out, and
clearly we didn't,
and I didn't. So big thanks to guy, Mr. Guy. I was gonna say his name, but I don't know if he wants me to or not. So I'll err on the side of Kiaoshin here, but. Big thanks to, I almost said his name anyways. I almost read his name, but you know who you are. Thanks for reaching out. And that goes for anybody. If you hear anything that you're like, I'm not sure about that, don't take our word as gospel. Fact check stuff, there's a reason why we're old infantry grunts. We're kind of dumb sometimes. Kind of dumb. No, honestly, we definitely know what we're talking about. Let me backpedal and try to add myself some credibility. But I think that's the first, as far as I know, I think that's the first technical mistake we've made on having something a little backwards. But it happens. We're human, and more importantly, we were infantry. Yeah, so I just wanted to set the record straight, though. So, again, the whole spiel about cubic inches to liters in the last episode that we did was incorrect. So, this is now the correction for that. Right?
Good job.
Okay. Thank you for enjoying thank you for the coming to the episode.
Yeah.
Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Okay. Yeah.
No, dude.
We're going to get into it right away. We're not going to have a big, long story other than that. I guess it wasn't a story, but
It was a correction.
it was a correction, dude.
It was a story that someone actually corrected us, though.
Yeah.
So good on them.
Yeah. Oh, and that's where I was going with that. Is if you do hear something, definitely, and for like you look it up and you're like, oh, they screwed that up. Like let us know because we'll correct it. We're not the kind of guys that are going to be like, well, actually, if you look at it from this perspective, like if it's something that's like black and white, like we're gonna,
Or
we'll
even
make
if it's
the
not
correction.
black and white, we're gonna have a conversation. Like like if we still feel we're correct, we're gonna give our 2 cents, I guess. Like we don't have a problem with having conversation. Like that's.
I mean, if it's like a theoretical thing where it's like, well, I think this, like Steven said, well, we can talk about it and we'd love to talk about it. So hit us up. We try to be good about getting back to people, but, I found an email that I didn't get back to for like ever. And it actually made me laugh so hard. So in one of our past episodes, we said something about all the spam emails we get on our contact form on our email because we get a lot of them. Like,
yeah,
and I can't remember what I said, but I said something like, "Oh, it's either date an Asian girl," or you get these weird like bot spams, that use our contact form on our website. Or it'll be like, increase the size of your penis or something like that. And then I literally had one of our audience members or one of our listeners reached out and said, if you date an Asian girl, it said something in the beginning like, if you date an Asian girl, it'll increase the length of your penis. And then he said, it was our OP episode. And then he's like, but I'd love to hear more about how to select a good OP and stuff like that. But I just read this, and that episode was like months ago, and I read the very beginning and just scrolled by it, and I was just like, nah, it's spam. But then came back to it later as I was going through stuff, trying to make sure that I had all my, had answered all the contact forms. And because like I said, like 80% of them are spam. So I'm like going through, and I found that one again and like reread it, and Steven and I laughed so hard because it was like, it actually tricked us, Yeah,
it was pretty good.
Spam, but anyways, so we will try to get back to you if you reach out to us. So we'd love to have conversations about any of this kind of stuff. But yeah,
and don't pretend to be spam.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was kind of funny, but
yeah,
it might actually make us not answer for a long time. But cool. Well, today, as the title describes, we're going to be talking about body armor. So, Modern Minuteman Layout Part 4. And this one is a really important one. And I think it's just this is one of those items that, I mean, anything that we have in our layout series is something that we're basically saying, like, if you're considering yourself a modern Minuteman and you're someone that wants to be ready and prepared, then this is something you need to have in your gear layout.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's actually one of those items that a lot of people start with, it seems like. Whether they start with the right set of armor, that's a different thing, but
for sure.
But it seems like one of those things that people go after pretty quickly when it comes to like kind of having that mental switch from, hey, I want to have a bunch of guns, to like, hey, the Second Amendment was put in place for this purpose. I should probably like start getting things that like our military have.
Yeah.
And I think armor is one of those things that it's expensive, but it's not. You can get into pretty decent armor for obviously not like night vision cost,
Yeah.
So you can also spend night vision costs on armor, but
oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely something you should have. It is, I mean, it's life-saving equipment, and the stuff works. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to me. It's like, if you're actually in an environment, or if you could see yourself being in an environment where you're going to be throwing bullets at each other, like exchanging gunfire, like legit firefight stuff, you want to have body armor on.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my buddies overseas got shot in the plates, and it did its job. Stopped, 2 incoming rounds. The plate captured those bullets and absorbed the impact, and it bought him the time needed to drop the guy that shot him. So that right there is like, just a perfect example.
And guess who didn't have armor in that situation? Probably.
Yeah, dude. Goodbye.
Because if he had, I mean, it definitely levels the playing field for sure.
Yeah.
So if you look at it from that perspective as well, it's like you shoot someone, they have armor on, they're able to shoot back, but they're probably shooting back center mass because they're under stressful, they're under a stressful situation as well. It's like, and if you don't have armor, you just end up like
just dirt napping, dude.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, armor's a big deal. And it's just, like I said, it's one of those things that it needs to be, if you haven't already got it, you need to start planning to get it.
Yeah.
We get asked a lot, what do I get first? Do I get body armor first, or do I get like LBE stuff, like a chest rig first? And I think once upon a time I would have said to get armor first, and maybe this is controversial, but I think I would say get a chest rig first.
Yeah, I think it's got more because you got more like not like you can use a chest rig in other situations other than like actual combat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
You can use it for, hey, we got a friend that's lost in the woods.
Yeah.
Throw on some gear. Chest rigs are pretty convenient for that kind of stuff. Like actually having your gear out in front of you where you can work. And then also like from the training value of it, you're able to go out without plates on and train.
Right.
But if all you have is plates and like a plate carrier, but no like placards or anything, it's like not able to do like mag reloads off that kit or anything like that. Like you're not able to get reps.
No. And also, I mean, it's not, there's a lot of situational, there's a lot of situations where you could potentially not have body armor on and just be kind of rocking light, chest rig only, trying to do like more reconnaissance kind of style stuff where you're like intentionally not trying to get in a gunfight, which honestly from the kind of guerrilla tactics perspective, that should be your goal anyways. Not, you don't want to get in a standing gunfight, especially with a bigger fish, a bigger player. So I would say, honestly, the way we've laid these episodes out, not really intentionally, but kind of in order of priority. Obviously, part 1, talking about the rifle. You need a good rifle. Part 2, load-bearing equipment. You need equipment to carry support for that rifle and for you in general.
Yep.
And then getting into the rucksack, again, rucksack's one of those things where you could use it for a ton of different things, way beyond like gunfighting, which is more practical. I mean, like going out and getting food for your family or going and procuring water, like these are all things you can do with that.
Yep.
So now we're at like getting a little more combatant focused, like it's time to get body armor. So
yeah.
Like we definitely understand that this stuff takes time to buy. Again, this is all.
Yeah, we're not all made of money.
No.
It's not been something that me and Jacob personally just got in like a month's time. You know, it's been years. Like we were both, like we said, we were both infantry guys. Like we weren't making a ton of money.
No.
In the Army. We both got really nice rifles in the military and still run those exact rifles that we built while we were in.
Yeah, we've changed them a little bit along the way.
Yeah, they've gotten some upgrades with, as you learn. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I mean, it's the same rifles that we had.
Yeah.
And that was like, I remember when I was building my rifle, like I put like months worth of paychecks into my rifle.
Yeah.
And like, I was eating like straight top ramen. I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying like, that's what I was doing.
Single life.
We weren't making much. like especially being single in the military.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, we just say all that to say that, like, we've had a lot of people come into our store and be like, man, I just, I listen to your podcast and I just can't afford all this stuff. And it's like, well, you can. You just can't afford it all altogether. And I totally understand that. Like, both Steven and I have built this stuff over time. And for me, it's been years. Like, I've built some of this stuff over years. And we're to a place now where we're fortunate enough to have a company that can, front a lot of this gear for us. But that didn't happen overnight either. That was something that's very new. And it's, it's nice that we can do that from time to time. But even then, it's like, this stuff is expensive. So body armor is one of those things. It's also one of those things that, unfortunately, you just can't skimp on it. Like,
no, you can't.
It is way better. I don't want to rant too heavy here, but this is something that a culture that I've really fought here locally, and I've seen it a lot in the social media community. But it's like, people kind of get into this mentality of like, well, I need something right now, so I'm going to buy this whatever, and we'll get into different things here in a little bit. Full transparency, we might hurt some feelings in this episode, but it is what it is. We're going to always be up front with you guys and say things the way that we think they are and speak in reality. I think a lot of marketing and opinions and perspectives get kind of mixed into the bag. And then you've got guys that, unfortunately, in this industry get influenced by different brands and stuff like that. Like, you have to understand that stuff happens.
Yeah.
So it makes way, especially in this life-saving equipment, it makes way for some weird stuff to become mainstream and to become accepted. And we'll get into the specifics of that in a second. But do not skimp on life-saving equipment. There are a few things that are life preservation gear that you should not skimp on. Medical is one of those things. Don't go on Amazon and hunt for the cheapest tourniquet deal.
Yeah.
It's a knockoff and it's going to break. If you've played around with any of those Chinese tourniquets, you can grab the windlass with your bare hands and snap them. It's ridiculous. Body armor is in that same category. Like, actual ballistic armor, you cannot be trying to get the cheapest, best bang for your buck deal on body armor.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you have to spend thousands of dollars, but there are some brands and ratings and types of armor that you should adhere to, and it's because that's just what works. And we'll talk about that, but definitely can't skimp here. We understand it's expensive, but instead of being in the mentality of like, I need something now, this is all I can afford, just save up a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer. And I know there's going to be people that are like, but what if the world ends? It's like, okay, well, that sucks, but you can what if it to death. What if you spent your money now on some crappy plates and then, you would have actually had time to get it if you'd saved a little bit longer. And then crap hits the fan, and then you get freaking smoked because you're wearing some weird armor, and some dude with a 30 cal armor piercing bullet just ends you because that plate was never going to stop that.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because, once you break it down that way, it's like, so if things had ended and you didn't have armor, would it be any different?
No.
No. So...
And you wouldn't have been cruising under the assumption that you had safety.
Mm-hmm. And also you would be unencumbered by.
I was about to say,
the
if
heavy
I'm
weight.
cruising around with it just a chest rig, I'm definitely avoiding firefights, dude.
Yeah, no false sense of security,
dude. No,
you're
thank
wearing
you, dude.
some heavy stuff on your chest.
Yeah,
yeah. So just keep that in mind as we move forward here. Okay. So we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes here. We're going to talk about some body armor basics. Bear with us. Some of this stuff is kind of dry. It's a lot of technical information. Now, I've tried to break it up to get rid of the nonsense, because when you start actually looking at NIJ ratings and stuff like that, it kind of starts to get like, it's just a lot of information, and it's just like, okay. So I've kind of broken it down in a good way, but this is really important to understand. This is one of those things where, again, this is critical equipment, critical life-saving equipment. You need to understand it. You got to understand how it works. So I'm going to talk about different types of armor. You've got your soft armor, which is usually made out of Kevlar, polyethylene, or a combination of the two. Now, what is soft armor? It's a flexible, it's soft. It's not a rigid structure. It's not hard. It is a soft material that is designed to capture bullets, generally small size handgun calibers.
Yeah.
Then you have your rigid armor or your hard armor or plates. You've got 3 main types in there, and you've got a bunch in between. Like there's going to be a bunch of weird kind of obscure proprietary brands and stuff. But you have steel plates, ceramic plates, and then UHMWPE, which is ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Those are your 3 big rigid plate types. Okay, so we're going to talk about each of those. Now, soft armor, really quick though, Kevlar and polyethylene, we'll come back to those later. So we'll talk a little bit about what kind of protection those actually offer you. I'm going to go ahead and say it now. For this conversation, for the modern Minuteman focus, you need to be focusing on rigid plates, hard, high-level ballistic plates. So we're going to break them down, starting with steel plates. And this is where feelings are going to get hurt, and I'm sorry. But we'll talk about pros and cons. Pros of the steel plate, they are cheap. So that's red flag number 1. They can be shot multiple times. That's something that is actually pretty cool about steel plates. They are durable and long-lasting in the sense that they don't require a lot of maintenance. They can kind of be thrown around. Their shelf life, like sitting on the shelf, because it's just steel, they're not going to break down. You know, they will break down over time, but we're talking like decades of time.
Yeah.
That's really where the pros end. The cons, they're heavy. They're 10 plus pounds per square foot. So that on average. So 10 plus pounds per square foot for steel plates. And I hear this all the time. And again, might hurt some feelings with the steel armor part of this, but it is what it is. You got to hear it, because if we're trying to influence the modern Minuteman, that citizen warfighter, we got to be wearing the right armor. I hear it all the time in our store. Yeah, but I'd rather carry a heavy armor that'll stop all kinds of stuff than the steel's not stopping what you think it's going to stop. First of all, when you get hit, you've probably all heard of spalling. If you've heard of steel armor, you've heard of spalling. Spalling is where when you get hit by a bullet, the bullet splinters apart and fragments or spalls, and all of that fragmentation shatters out from the plate. And unfortunately, it usually shatters up into your neck and head, and it is often deadly. So to counteract that, you have a lot of companies that have spall lining. What's really funny about spall lining is it kind of works, but not really. And the evidence of that has been shown in like the multiple layers. Like when you go on some of these sites and it's like add spall lining, add double spall lining protection, add triple spall lining protection, best, and it'll say like best in parentheses. So it's like, okay, so it's triple layered. Why are we adding all these layers? Well, because ultimately what spall lining is, what anti-spall lining is basically rhino lining.
Yeah.
It's they roll on a rhino lining type material that's supposed to kind of help trap. As soon as that gets hit, that's chipped away. Maybe your first bullet, it might work. Long story short, for spalling, it's incredibly deadly, and it's not something that you're going to want to, that I would want to risk.
No. Yeah.
Also, all that spall lining getting added adds weight to the plates, which again, you might be like, not a huge deal because it's going to stop all kinds of stuff. No, and this is a huge misconception. There is no steel plate out there, with exception of one, and I'll say in a second. But all of your main steel plates, like AR500 steel plates, stuff like that, none of them are NIJ rated. So they are not able to go up to or test against the NIJ standards. And that's very important to understand. There's a lot of marketing marketing misdirection there, and a lot of misconception. There is one type of steel that is rated, but not in the sense you might think it is, and that is mil-spec A46100. So A46100, mil-spec A46100. It's the only truly rated steel armor, and it's rated for it's rated as vehicle armor. It's anti-shrapnel, anti-blast, it is anti-small arm. It'll stop a lot of stuff, but it's designed for vehicles. It's not designed to put on your chest.
Yeah.
It's also very expensive. Actual A46100 steel is pretty expensive. Now, they do make it in plates, and supposedly it's pretty decent, but again, you're talking about your spalling. It's going to be heavy, all these things that we just talked about. Okay, steel armor will not stop armor-piercing rounds. And this right here is the main thing I want you to hear about steel. It is not stopping armor-piercing bullets. Armor-piercing bullets are literally designed to defeat steel armor.
Yeah.
Not when people hear armor piercing, they're like, oh, like a plate, like body armor. No. Like vehicle armor. Like true armor piercing bullets, like full core 30 caliber armor piercing bullets, literally designed to go through steel. Go right through it. Boom, smoke it. And I know there's people right now like, no, I've shot my, steel target, my whatever thickness steel target, AR500 steel target, like so many times with armor piercing. No, I'm talking true mil-spec armor piercing. Like M855, for example, is not a full armor piercing bullet. It's a partial steel core. So when you shoot it with your green tip, and it's funny because a lot of those companies say, don't shoot this with green tip, it'll pit it really bad, and it does. And sometimes, if you hit a weak spot of the steel, you can go straight through it. We've seen it happen.
Yep.
You can absolutely send it through that with green tip, and that's not true armor-piercing ammunition. That's, it does good against armor types, but it's not a full-on true AP round.
Yeah.
Steel also has really bad back face deformation. So, not in the same sense as some of these other types, but its shock absorption is very poor. You see how those plates get hit when you shoot at steel targets. They just vibrate and shake. And yeah, if you get hit with an actual armor-piercing bullet, if it does trap it and stop it, it's going to be a bad day for you. And that steel is going to get sent into you. And
into your organs. You're
going to probably have internal bleeding and broken bones and all kinds of stuff if it doesn't just pass through and kill you. So that's the sad reality of steel. It is just not a good body armor type. And it's very frustrating because it's cheap and it's marketed as like, it'll stop. You can shoot it indefinitely. And that's true. Like you can shoot it with 9mm indefinitely. But you'll probably be dead as you die from the spalling. But sure, your plate will still stop that ammunition indefinitely.
Yeah.
So really, any kind of actual combatant round that's going to be supersonic, probably armor piercing, high caliber, or like combat rated, steel armor is not going to do anything for you. So,
yep, it's definitely just a marketing trap, I feel like.
Yeah, and this right here, this is the point I was trying to make, is that so many people buy steel because it's cheaper. I can get it now, and at least I have something. That's kind of the mentality. But once you know this information, it's like, what do you really have? Now, I'm not going to say that there's never a time to get it. Well, actually, I am going to say that. Don't get it. I think we're going to get into some better armor types in just a second. And there's options that aren't even that much more. Like, we're talking maybe $80 more in the grand scheme. And it's like, duh. Um, but I'm sure there's a lot of people thinking like, well, if I just want something to throw on for home defense, or like in a situation where I might just be dealing with somebody with like a handgun or something, it's like, yeah, but you can apply that to any of this other armor.
Yeah.
So why not get armor that you plan on, now you're talking about spending even more money, So if you are trying to set yourself up as this modern Minuteman perspective, get the armor that makes the most sense, and we'll get into what we think that is, and just have that. And then, yeah, if you are in that weird situation where where you're trying to validate steel armor, guess what? This other armor is going to be even better for you.
Yeah.
So, no brainer.
Yeah, I think it's too easy.
Okay, so ceramic plates. This is where we're getting into some. So basically, these next two types of plates are plates that are good to get. I'll just go ahead and spoil it there. But ceramic plates, probably the most common, been around for a long time. The pros, they're a lot lighter. So 5 pounds per square foot versus that 10 plus pounds per square foot. So half again less the weight.
Yep.
Absorbs impacts and disperses energy way better than steel, like way better. Like actually, because it was designed to be armor and it wasn't made as targets, and then somebody said, oh wait, we could maybe put this on people.
Yeah.
It absorbs it way better. They are actually designed to protect against armor piercing rounds, especially when you're talking about your level 4 armor, which we'll get into the ratings in a second, because I know some people get confused there. And the other thing that's really nice about it is they actually fit in modern carriers, because all modern carriers are designed for ceramic plates.
Yeah.
They're not designed for steel. That's why we hear it all the time in the store. It's like, yeah, the only thing I don't like about my steel plates is they like smash around and they're like all loose and weird in my plate carrier, and I feel like this is a bad plate carrier. And it's like, no, dude, that plate carrier is a really good brand. You put something weird in it. They designed that plate bag for ceramic plates.
Yeah.
So,
which are usually quite a bit wider, than ceramic plates are quite a bit wider than like steel plates.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so cons. It is more expensive, and sometimes, depending on the brand, it's quite a bit more expensive. I should have had some price comparisons written down, but just going off of like my own knowledge, you can get AR 500 plates usually for around $100 a piece. That's really cheap for armor. Generally, a good like multi-curve ceramic plate is going to be what?
Be careful what you say, man. Prices have gone up on all this stuff.
Have they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll err on the side of caution. You'll probably spend anywhere between $400 to $600 a plate
let's check.
on like a good level 3 plus multi-curve. So
I'd say that's safe. That's probably honestly given a little too much, but that's all right.
Around there's a lot of variability. Now, I will say this. Steven and I have level 4 ceramic Hesco plates, really good plates, multi-curve. And we found them, and this is like a weird situation, but we found them on sale for like $140 a plate.
Is that cheap?
Yeah. It was so cheap. We got them so cheap from that, whatever that site was. I don't even remember what it was, but
It almost seems like they're fake.
Oh, they're not.
I know they're not fake, but our audience is probably thinking that right now.
No, they have the labels on the back, and that's something that you need to look at and check and make sure that they have all the right lot numbering and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, no, they're genuine.
I don't think they were 140 a plate.
Were they not?
I think they were more than that, dude.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm dreaming. Dude, I swear they were so cheap.
They were super cheap for what they are, but I don't think they were that cheap.
I want to look it up. I want to see if I can find it.
Yeah, we got them on a good sale. And what's funny is since then, people are like, oh, how much can you get them for? And I'm always like, oh, yeah, you can find them every once in a while for like this much. And they're like, dude, where are you looking, dude? I can't find them anywhere that cheap. But
yeah, I don't
especially right now.
Yeah, maybe they weren't. Maybe they were like $240 a plate.
I think that's
maybe
probably closer to it.
I just remember them being so cheap, and we were like, oh, dude, and we just bought like as many as we could get. So
yeah.
Okay. But anyways, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be more expensive. They're pretty thick and cumbersome. So they are a lot thicker than steel. But again, it's a con, but it's kind of not, because it's going to fill out your plate carrier, which is going to make it ride better. But they are thick, kind of chonky. But that's just the nature of it. It's got to stop that bullet. That's the thing, too. It's like you're wearing something that stops a freaking 3,200 foot per second bullet.
Yeah.
Like it's going to depend on the level, but it's going to stop that and save you. That's crazy.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Okay, the other con, it cannot receive multiple impacts in the same location. So the way it works is it kind of catches the bullet, kind of cracks and crumbles, and it does a lot of different little things inside of that plate to save you.
Yeah, because it's basically like layered in there.
So if you get hit in the same area, it's not that part of the armor's been compromised. So technically it can't. Now, I've heard that it can. Like, I've heard anecdotal stuff where it did, but it's also very rare to get hit in the exact same spot. Like,
in a single gunfight, that'd be kind of crazy.
So, but that is something to consider, that they can fail if it's hit in the exact same spot again, like right after it's been shot.
Yeah.
Another these next two cons are probably their biggest cons, but it just is what it is. So the maintenance on them is a little bit more. You got to be a little more tedious. They have very specific like washing techniques. Like you cannot you're not supposed to put like chemicals on them or anything like that, because it can mess up the armor itself. Dude, I remember this guy in the military. He literally put his freaking, which I don't even know how you do this. This is the most Joe thing I've ever heard of. Like, it's like, how did you make it through basic training? But this guy washed his IOTV, so it had 3A level, like soft armor, 3A soft armor in it as well.
Yeah.
Which you can't wash that either. Washed his IOTV with his ESAPs in it.
No.
Yeah, dude.
In a washing machine?
Yeah,
or what?
in a washing machine.
No.
How do you do that?
How'd you even get it in the washing machine?
He literally was like, I thought it sounded weird. I'm like, dude, what? But dude, his plates like swelled up and like cracked, and they were ruined. He ruined them.
Did they charge him?
I don't know. Probably. Should have. That's stupid. So don't do that, boys and girls.
Why are you washing your plates anyways?
Dude, that's just classic. Like,
I would never have thought even to wash plates.
He probably had a sergeant that was like, your gear smells like crap. Like, you stink, you dirty bird. You need to get that washed. And they probably just threw the whole thing in.
Yeah, if you keep your body armor inside of its plate carrier, it shouldn't stink. I wouldn't think.
No, he threw his whole IOTV in.
Well, I know. I'm tracking that, but I'm just saying, why wouldn't you have taken it out?
Because he's dumb. He probably just was like, oh, this thing stinks, so I'm just going to wash it. Which is, anyways.
For all our audience out there, I don't think there's a reason you should be washing your plates in general.
No.
That is just so random.
No.
Like, if it stinks, whatever, dude. You just ride with it at that point.
His plates didn't stink.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, if somehow your plates start stinking, dude, I don't know.
Well, they're not going to.
Stuck with it now.
Yeah. No, his IOTV, his armor system, I think, was stinky.
Yeah.
So he just didn't even take the plates out. He just threw it all in there.
Like a boss.
Like a idiot. Anyways.
That sounds so just
classic.
Joseph.
Yeah. So the other thing is you can't, like, toss them around. Ceramic plates, you want to, like, the edges of them can be kind of fragile. So
yeah.
You don't want to like pop them around.
You don't want to drop them.
You don't want to drop them. You don't want to throw your plates like up into the shelf. They need to be handled with care. The best place for them is in your plate carrier. Just keep them in there and like hang your plate carrier up where it's not going to fall. Yeah,
it always worries me about like getting plates shipped to you because it's like, dude, who knows?
I know.
Who knows? I know how UPS is. I know how FedEx is. Sorry.
Yeah.
You guys mistreat packages left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And all those USPS haters out there. Honestly, our USPS isn't bad here, but
Yeah, we have a good one.
But they still probably throw stuff around.
So it also has a short service life. It's like 5 to 7 years. So they do eventually expire.
What do? They just turn into dust?
Yeah, they just wither away, dude. they just put in their 2 weeks notice and just send it. They just give up. No, I don't know, honestly. I'm not sure.
5 to 7?
Yeah.
That's a weird long gap in between.
I know.
Like,
it's like fire extinguishers,
I'm
dude.
right at 5 years. I don't know. How do you know?
Well, they have dates on them.
Oh, you're saying so depending on the brand, it may be 5 to 7. Okay. I thought you were saying like, well, we're at 5 years right now.
No, on
Hopefully
average.
this plate's still good.
No. They have like expiration dates on
I wonder what causes the expiration though.
It might just be, and I need to look into this. So
it may be like one of those things where it's like a
kind of like hemostatic gauze.
Yeah, like an insurance. Like
it's like we guarantee that it should be good for this amount of time.
Yeah.
After this, you should probably replace it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it deteriorates. It might be a material that maybe it gets like it slowly deteriorates. Some things do, like some steels and stuff, and some materials will just deteriorate over time. So I don't know.
5 to 7 years?
I don't know, man. We'll have to look it up.
Serious deterioration.
But so just understand that though. Like I know for a fact if you're in like a department or like a actual professional organization, which I mean that's not really who we're talking to, but I mean cool, dude. If you are, then yeah, you would have to replace. You know, they're going to replace it. Like it's going to get replaced probably.
Yeah.
And it might, and I'm guessing it is more of a like a liability kind of thing, but I'm not sure. So if you know, let us know. But I didn't actually look that up specifically. But they do. I mean, the fact of the matter is they guarantee them for anywhere between 5 to 7 years, just depending on what brand it is.
Okay,
so,
that's cool. I didn't know that actually.
Okay, so now we're getting into the UHM WPE. So these are kind of newer. The ultra high molecular weight polyethylene. Crazy. These plates are crazy. Actually, they're awesome. They're newer, but they've been around for a minute, but they're a lot newer than like ceramic plates. It is the lightest type of plate. They're super light.
Oh yeah.
It's also buoyant, which is
awesome.
Really cool. Like a lot of these OTB.
Does it fall apart in the water though?
No.
Okay.
A lot of these over the beach, like teams and stuff, like that are in the water, they've switched to these.
Like I'm trying to dive, but I can't.
Yeah.
Just keep floating to the top.
It's amazing. You look at the data. It's amazing how many guys have died in the water because their plates like weighed them down and they couldn't get up to the surface.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, there's like information on it. It's kind of sad.
I think I would still float.
But just got enough chub in there to just keep you afloat.
Just fill my lungs with air, dude. I'd still float with them bad boys on.
I
don't know, though. Actually, I'd probably sink like a rock, actually, now that I think about it. Because, yeah, any of the swim training, like as soon as you put gear on, dude, like even just clothing in general, and you get fully just soaked.
Well, you're kind of all trimmed up now, dude. So you might be,
I don't know, man. I hated doing that stuff, though.
I know.
I was never meant to be a SEAL.
No.
Dude, water and me, it's just, we're not made for each other.
Which is funny because you had to do all that boat team stuff in reconnaissance.
Yeah, but it's easier. It was always like, it wasn't ocean stuff, which I'm way more confident, like lakes and rivers, and like that's more comfortable. I can see the land on the other side, or whatever.
Yeah.
Oceans no
are
thank
crazy,
you, dude.
I remember one time, I'm going to tangent for a second. I was snorkeling, and I actually love the water. I love swimming and stuff like that.
I like snorkeling.
Yeah, and I was in Hawaii snorkeling, and we were there or whatever, and I was like, I want to swim out to the beach we were at. They're like, yeah, if you go out to here, that's like the drop off. That's where the reef like drops off and into the big ocean. And I was like, oh, that'd be cool. So I swam over there, and like Finding Nemo, dude, just swimming out.
Were me and you together for this?
Maybe.
I'm gonna say I feel like I did this exact same thing when we were in Hawaii.
Was this when
Did we go down into like that crack that was before it ended? We swam all the way down into that crack of the reef
and then swam out?
And then swam out.
And it was like the scariest thing in the world. Yeah, no, I think maybe you were there for that. I couldn't remember if it was the time that my wife and I went or if it was when our family went, but
I think it was when we were in high school.
But I remember swimming out past the drop off and then swimming down. Like I was like, I want to swim down. Like, and at the time I could dive. Like I was actually really good at like deep diving. Like I
couldn't keep up with you.
I could go like 50 feet down. Like no joke. I'd like depressurize,
Yeah, pop your ears or whatever.
And go down really deep. And I was like, I'm going to go down on the edge of this. And I've swam down, swimming, just keep swimming. And I turned around and it was like just black out there. And I was like, whoa, crazy. But I turned around and looked at the face of the reef, and I was probably like 40 feet down. And it was like, there's all these holes, and like, it was like super dark down there. There was, and it was the realization of like, something is watching me right now. Like, it's just, there's no way around it. Like, something probably bigger than me was like looking at me like, what is this? Is this something I can eat?
Yeah.
I don't know, like, if it really was or not, but it was that like feeling of like, oh man, I'm a small fish in the sea, literally. Yeah. And I am nothing against, like, I have no, I'm completely vulnerable in this water. Even though I'm a good swimmer for a human, it's trash, compared to what lives here. And I like quickly swam back up to the surface, and I was like, I'm out of here. Went back into the safety of the actual reef, but it was just that realization of being like in deep water.
We were diving down like and hanging out with those scuba divers even.
Yeah.
Remember that?
That was so funny. Dove down there, and they like, you could tell they were caught off guard. They're like, whoa. And just like waving at them, like all these scuba divers that were down on the bottom of this reef. That was at a different spot, but yeah,
it was kind of crazy. Me and you were just like going as deep as we could go.
Yep, it was fun.
But anyways, back to what we're actually
back to body
about.
armor. What in the world?
Well, buoyancy.
Oh, okay. Man. Okay, so yeah, I was trying to see where we were at. Super long service life. These things last like basically indefinitely, and they're a lot tougher. They can get, because they're all like a solid composite material. They're not like layered. As far as I know, they're not like a bunch of layered like ceramics, because ceramic can be, you gotta be careful with ceramic.
Yeah,
ceramic tiles, which is basically what's made up inside of the ceramic plates. It's also chemically resistant, which might sound weird, but so like, if you accidentally splash some kind of cleaner on it, we were talking about with the other plates, it can like ruin them if you get like cleaners and stuff on them. And I'm not saying to wash these, but they are
just throw in the washing machine. Dude.
Yeah, they're pretty much chemically inert. Like chemicals can't really do anything to it.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool. They can stop multiple impacts in the same location. So lots of pros. There are some cons. Only one. They're very expensive. So
how expensive?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say that, because I weirdly found some that were pretty affordable, but from the brand that we're gonna recommend, they're expensive.
What are they from the brand that we recommend?
They're like $1,200 a piece.
Oh, okay.
So,
night vision cost.
Yeah, a lot for level 4s. But
PVS 14 cost basically.
And I don't even know where you get them, because they're really hard to get like that for Hescos. But anyways, there are other companies that make those. But it's a very cool. We don't have any of this armor right now. I don't have any personal experience with this armor. We've got ceramics, and I've always used ceramic. Even back to our military days, those were ceramic plates or hybrids. Like there's some ceramic plates have Kevlar lining on the outside, and then that houses the ceramic on the inside.
Yeah.
So like ESAPs, for example, are built that way. So those are pretty much your main plates. Now there's other things there's duridium, and there's dragon scale. I don't know if anybody remembers back in the like 2012 era, that was a big thing. There's some dragon scale armor or whatever. I don't know anything about it, but it used to be
No,
super high speed, and everyone wanted it for some reason. I don't know if it was a gimmick. I don't know enough about it, but I think it was actually legit stuff. But you just, I always get, anytime armor conversation comes up, especially in the store, it's like, yeah, have you heard of that dragon scale armor? And I'm just like, no, dude, just go get some Heskos. Stop it. So anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the breakdown of that. And now we're going to get into the NIJ ratings really quick.
Yeah, dude. This is where we may hurt more feelings, I feel like, but that's all right.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to do.
We're here to just tell you the truth.
But long story short, obviously ceramics. And then if you can somehow find the UHMWPE plates, then,
the polyethylene plates,
and you can afford them, then definitely grab those, because I feel like just the shelf life on that makes them somewhat intriguing to me.
Yeah.
And then obviously the lightweight.
They're super light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and just a comparison on the lightness, a whole plate will be 4 pounds. So the ceramic plates are on average 5 pounds per square foot.
Yeah.
So that's obviously one plate, will be right around 7 to 8 pounds usually on average.
Yeah.
For a level 4 plate. But yeah, and then in contrast, a level 4 polyethylene plate is 4.2 pounds, the whole plate, which is light, super light. For you military guys out there, your one ESAPI plate was 13 pounds. So it gives you a little.
Was it really that heavy?
Yeah, dude. Yep.
What?
They're heavy, dude.
We're lugging some stuff around, dude. Out there lugging them grain plates around, dude. They were cool that they were grain. I don't know why, but I thought they were only 8 pounds.
Oh, okay, 13 pounds total for front and back. So 2 plates. So yeah, whatever that is. So yeah, you're close. That's
7.5.
A little bit less than 7. So.
Oh yeah, a little less than 7. Yeah.
So, but still, I mean, so for two polyethylene plates are, they're they're less than two of them together weigh as much as one ESAP wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, both of them weigh as much as one, basically, pretty much, which is pretty crazy. So
that is crazy.
Half the weight, pretty much.
And weight's not, everything, but, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, but I'll tell you right now, man, the lighter you can get it, the better it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
Dude, this is something that, something else you got to understand. If you're in an environment where you're wearing body armor, and this is where I think a lot of people don't see the big picture. If you actually find yourself in a world where you're having to wear body armor, you're going to be in it for days on end. It's not going to be I'm going to the range for 6 hours. Yeah, I had my steel plates. That wasn't bad. I shot for 8 hours today. No, you're going to be putting your body armor on, maybe even sleeping in it, depending on what's going on, for days. There was times in Afghanistan that I wore my plate carrier for days. And it starts to become one with your body. And you get weird little abrasions and rubs and sores that you never thought you could get from wearing it for that long.
Yep.
And the better your plate carrier, the better it's fitted, and the lighter your plates, the better it's going to be. And I tell people a lot, like, if you really want to test your plate stuff out, like how your plates ride and all that and how your carrier rides, wear it while you're doing everyday tasks. So put it on if you just have a day to hang out at the house. Do a load of laundry. Go clean and organize your garage. Play with your kids,
Shovel some snow.
Yep.
Or rake your
rake your leaves. Shovel snow. Go work on your car. Do that kind of stuff with a plate carrier on, and you'll get a way better idea of, like, I'm going to stand here on the range and shoot a course of fire, or I'm going to shoot this stage. Like, that stuff's just fun,
Yeah.
But you do all these weird little tasks at your house, or, if you got a cool job and they're like, yeah, dude, you can rock your plate carrier at work, that'd be crazy.
Just out there cruising around.
Well, unless you're doing something professional like law enforcement, law enforcement understands they have to wear usually soft armor, but
yeah, most of them are wearing soft armor.
A lot of guys are switching to plates. I don't blame them. If I was law enforcement, I'd probably rock plates.
Yeah.
So
depends on the area that I'm in.
I'd do it around here, I think.
You think?
Some weird, yeah. So I'd just get some light plates. I'd rather wear a plate carrier, honestly.
I would too.
Yeah. Than one of those flak jacket things. Nah, dude. I don't know. It's another conversation, but I don't know even if the departments are cool enough to let you wear that kind of stuff. But, okay. So getting into NIJ standards, bear with us. This stuff's important. Some things to understand. What is NIJ? It's the National Institute of Justice. Part of their testing, when they test the stopping, like the stop rating of all these calibers that we're going to talk about, they test 6 impacts from that same caliber.
Not in the same location, though.
Not in the same location. Yeah, just can the plate take up to 6 impacts? So, that's important to understand. They also allow for 44 millimeters of deformation. So, backface deformation. We talked about it a little bit, but just to quickly break that down. Basically what that is when the plate stops a bullet, there's a part in the back of the plate that can deform, and it'll, basically deform into you because it's obviously stopped a bullet. That can be deadly. There's actually been a lot of situations where ballistic plates have stopped bullets, but then still killed the wearer or caused like very critical injuries because of backface deformation.
Yeah, which if you know anything about like medical stuff, if you're in a situation like where you're having to like cruise around with body armor all the time, our hospitals are probably not going to be like super up and active.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you have really, really good friends that know what the heck they're doing, it's going to be kind of hard to deal with internal bleeding.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about your organs.
Yep.
So, yeah, you definitely don't want that.
No. So those are the requirements, though. It has to stop 6 impacts of each tested caliber, and it cannot be more than 44 millimeters of deformation, backface deformation. Okay, so let's get into the levels. You got level 2A. 2A is tested to stop up to 9 millimeter and 40 Smith & Wesson, fired from handguns, so no rifle protection.
Do they do knives on that stuff too, though? I thought I saw something about...
They do knives as well, yeah.
On all of them or just the softs?
So Kevlar lining will stop a knife.
Okay.
So soft armor...
Because I saw something where they were like basically using like a sharp knife or like even a dull knife that they do testing with as well. That's part of the NIJ rating. But, which I assume is like for within the prison setting, like shanks and stuff like that is what the dull one's for. But...
Oh, okay.
I saw something about that, like something about they have to be rated for shanks pretty much.
Yeah.
I was like, interesting, but
Yeah, and that's one of the best, or that's one of the main like uses of the soft armor, because you can get a lot of like flexible coverage with it.
Yeah.
So it's like blade protection, like knife protection, and you can stab through it. Like I've seen videos of people like, but you got to like go after
but it's usually
it.
like it up against a hard object. Like when you're wearing it, and obviously we're soft as humans.
Yeah.
There's going to be more give, so it's going to be harder to like. Like when you go to stab, it's like not only is the soft armor going to give, but the person that's wearing it's going to give a little bit too. So it's not going to have like that abrupt stop to help the knife get through it, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that's not really what we're talking about today anyways.
Yeah.
It's just interesting, I guess.
It's good to know. Yeah, so level 2A, it's tested to stop up to 9mm and 40 Smith & Wesson fired from handguns, so no rifle protection. And they do specify from handguns because the barrel length obviously can increase velocity.
Yeah.
So handguns specifically were tested for, or it can stop handguns specifically. So level 2. So you'll see an A behind some of these
so what
numbers.
do we think about 2A? Trash?
Yeah, 2A is a waste of time. I mean, everything's got a time and a place, but for again, we're talking about modern Minuteman being ready to fight at a moment's notice, and the reality of that is you're probably going to have to fight, a force of some kind that's ready to fight,
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Level 2, tested to stop up to 9mm and 357 Magnum fired from short-barreled handguns, so no rifle protection.
So not really much better.
And it's important to understand, too, that this is stacking. So the 2A, tested to stop up to 9mm and 40. Level 2 is higher than 2A, so it obviously includes, like 40 Smith & Wesson would still be included in that.
Yeah, 357 is obviously a more aggressive caliber
Magnum,
than a 40.
357 Magnum, which is a pretty zippy little round.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of big, but... Okay, then you've got... So those are your level 2s, level 2A and level 2. There is like level 1 and stuff, but we didn't even include it because it's mainly like sharps protection. Level 3A, tested to stop up to 357 SIG and 44 Magnum. And it can be fired from longer barreled handguns.
But still a handgun, not a rifle.
Yep. No rifle protection. And I've heard this misconception a lot that like, oh yeah, 3A will stop some rifle rounds. Like, yeah, maybe like 22, but rifle ammunition's probably going to punch that.
And it may stop rifle rounds. It just doesn't stop them quite to the to level 3's rating.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't surpass what level 3 is requirement, then it stays to the lowest. Like it'll go back to the lowest category, I guess. So it can be close, but then if it's not actually, if it doesn't, make the requirement for the next rating, then it just automatically drops down to the lowest, or the next one.
Yep.
Underneath, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So, yeah, basically you're just saying like if 3A did stop some rifle rounds, but it doesn't do what level 3 is tested to do, then it still is considered level 3A armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's important to understand, too, that all these levels are minimum requirements. Like, that is the absolute minimum it must do to reach that standard. So.
Yep.
Okay, so level 3, tested to stop up to 7.62 millimeter full metal jacket lead core rifle ammunition. So not armor piercing, lead core. So obviously that's going to stop your 5.56 and stuff like that. But level 3, it's important to understand, is not going to. It's not rated to stop M855. So even that like green tip stuff that's not even truly a full on armor piercing round, but it's not going to stop it. And this right here, I want to take a second here because a lot of people have been buying level 3. Level 3 is pretty good armor, but if we're talking true combat ammunition here, level 3 is probably not good enough.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. And this is where, again, if you've done all the right things, you're like, screw steel plates. I got ceramic plates. But then we get to this part and you're like, oh crap, but I bought level 3. Got to really think about it. Now, is it going to work for probably the majority of practical situations? Probably.
Yeah, if you're dealing with like looting and riots and things like that, it's probably going to work. I mean, but even still, it's like,
Yeah. You never know.
depends on where you live, man.
If you're fighting a fighting force, like an organization, a military, a unit, a group that is specifically set up to fight, probably not going to do you as much good.
Yeah. No, probably not. I'm going to say no. It's not going to actually do you good. It's going to give you that false hope.
Yep.
That you're wearing something that might protect you, and it's just going to get destroyed.
So then there's level 3 plus. Now, this is where, again, there's probably people that are like, well, it's a good thing I got level 3 plus. Well, let's talk about...
And level 3 plus isn't actually within an IJ rating.
It's not, yeah.
So that's also got to be talked about. Like, that's just basically... It's kind of the same concept what we were talking about where, basically companies had a level 3 plate that were like almost on the cusp of being level 4, but just weren't able to meet the requirements. So then they fall into that level 3 plus.
Yep.
Because it's like, it's an easy advertisement. Like, yeah, this plate's actually pretty good, but it still doesn't quite meet level 4. So we're going to call it level 3 plus.
Yeah. And that designation is often given to plates that that meet the level 3 standards, but then have some additional qualities. Like you'll see it with Hesco makes level 3 plus plates that meet all the standards for level 3, but then specifically are designed to deal with like M855 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, which again is 5.56 green tip ammunition.
Which they even label it, aren't they called like special threat plates or something like that?
Well, that's even something different.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and I have that in here too.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's its own thing as well. Okay, so, again, level 3 plus, it's not actually its own level or rating. We added it in here because it's commonly seen, so we wanted to cover that. But it's basically level 3 that exceeds the standards.
Yeah.
But it's not level 4, and it's definitely not that high.
It's also important, like you said, it stops M855 in some cases.
Yeah,
so like depending on the brand, it may not.
No, yeah, because it could be specialized to stop certain
if you
things.
already own level 3 plus, go and look at like which exact plates you got and see what it is rated to. Because it may not even stop M855.
Yeah.
Which is pretty trash.
Yeah, the reason M855 is a big deal is because if it's a very, very common combat caliber for AR platforms. For anything chambered in 5.56, M855 is a military cartridge, green tip ammo that is readily available, and it's something that if you're up against some kind of organized unit, the likelihood of them using that 62 grain M855 is pretty high.
I mean, that's pretty much all I shoot. So
yeah, so it's important to have to be able to defeat that or for your armor to be able to withstand that. Okay, so level 4, tested to stop up to 30 caliber steel core armor piercing rifle ammunition. So it is designed to stop true combat ammunition. This is true
30 cal too.
Combat ammunition protection. So level 4 is the only plate that, and this isn't like our opinion, this is the facts. Level 4 is the only plate, standalone plate, that is designed to deal with true fighting caliber threats. And with that being said, we recommend level 4 plates. And that's a bummer for people that have invested in other ones. I'm not saying like get rid of those. Always keep plates around.
Yeah, you can't have enough of them.
Get some level 4 plates. I think it's really, really important to think about it this way. There's kind of this blend of like, well, what about for my low key setup? Like, it's like there's this kind of movement to like set up plate carriers in a bunch of different ways, have a bunch of different plate carriers, and that's cool, dude. Like if you're doing that and you're already squared away, and I kind of view it almost the same way as like having a bunch of rifle setups.
Yeah,
it's like if you have a good like true, this is like if things get really bad and I have to go fight. Like if you have that plate carrier and those plates all set up, then specialize and do whatever from there. That's awesome. But if you're still in the market for good armor and a good carrier and stuff like that, we're going to highly recommend to just focus on getting level 4 plates.
Yep.
Because it's going to stop all these other justifications that you might have to get armor. My level 3 plates are, they're going to stop common calibers out there, and I'm most likely going to just run into the stuff it can stop. Again, all your justifications for having a lower, plate, the level 4 stops all that too. It deals with all that as well. So why in the world, especially if you haven't bought a plate yet?
And like going back to it's going to be a little lighter, like the level 3 versus the level 4.
Yeah.
But
not by much.
Most of the people argue, well, I'd rather carry something heavier than,
Yeah.
So it goes back to that thing that's
they're
always
lighter
argued.
than steel.
Yeah.
I think ours are 7 pounds each.
Yeah, they're not much.
So, yeah. And they're not really that much more expensive either.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to highly recommend level 4. Now, I want to talk about one more category. It's not an NIJ rating, but it is recognized by the NIJ. The reason it's not rated is because the way they do ratings, there's not a good way to kind of test these plates, because and the name will kind of give it away, but they're considered special threat plates. So this was kind of what you were getting into.
Yeah.
So special threat's like a category, and it's designed.
I figured that would be considered a 3+.
No, because the 3+ is specifically designed to be NIJ 3 level 3 rated. But they're going to exceed the standards is basically all that 3+ means.
Okay.
But no, special threat, because, and I'll use this example, but it's not rated and not NIJ rating, but it's tested to some of those standards. So it's designed and tested to stop a specific ammunition threat envelope. So, for example, you have like the HESCO L210s. They're designed to stop 5.56 and 7.62, and they're actually more effective at stopping both of those calibers than most level 3 plates are.
Okay.
Weirdly, it's closer to being, and that's where the 2 comes from in the designation there, but they're weirdly more similar to a level 2 plate or armor, but it's rigid armor. So very thin, pretty light, but specifically, not really caring about all the other parameters, specifically designed to stop like specific ammunition. And that's where they get the title special threat. So kind of cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
But again, 7.62 by 39, not 7.62 by 51. That's an important designation to make. So, not going to be stopping. Not going to stop armor piercing.
About that.
Yeah, I think
it's an option, but it's it goes back to what's the cost difference between L210 and one of the 4000 series? Now what they are?
Yeah,
the level 4s.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm sure that the 210s are 400. I'm sure that they are cheaper, but it's and they're lighter, obviously.
Yeah, they are lighter, and they're smaller. They're pretty thin. They're cool, but again, for this mission, for this specific mindset, I don't know how you don't do level 4. I just can't. I can't come to terms with doing anything but level 4.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. Hey, I'm gonna take the chance that I'm gonna either be fighting AKs or ARs, and that's it.
Yeah, and if you're fighting AKs with armor piercing ammunition, that's bad day if you don't have level 4 armor.
Yeah,
that's a 30 caliber armor piercing round. And also 308 is super common. 7.62 by 51.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's.
I was say we were both in. We know what even line units have. Man, they got 308 all day long.
All day long.
They also have 300 Win Mag. At least when I was done.
And you start factoring in militaries. M855 is the least of your concern.
Yeah.
Now they have I always forget the designator for it, but they have that new 5.56 round that is. Well, it's not really new. It's been around for a long time, but it's not available or it's really hard to get as a civilian. I should say.
Black.
Yeah, it's got that black tip on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a tungsten tip or something. But dude, that stuff's nasty. Like that stuff is probably going to vibe check some level 3 plates if we're being real. So the actual armor piercing one.
Level 3 plus even probably.
Maybe, yeah. So anyways, and I don't want to get super detailed farther than we already have. I mean, we went pretty detailed. All those levels have a lot more. I kind of like went to like what's the top it can do.
Yeah.
So I kind of simplified it. But if you want to look it up, it's readily available. Just look in like NIJ body armor standards, and it'll come up. And you can go actually on the National Institute of Justice website, nij.org or whatever it is. And they have this entire like 89-page PDF you can look at, and it breaks everything down, how they test, what they're looking for, And there's a lot of people that say that, and this is kind of where, again, special threat has started becoming more popular, because the NIJ like testing standards are kind of old school and they've been around for a long time, but it's nice that there is a recognized standard, because then you have a way to know, like, okay, if I'm buying this, does it actually have an NIJ rating, and what is it?
Yeah.
And it's actually been tested to meet those standards. It's good to have like standards for this kind of stuff.
Definitely.
So again, if you want to cover all your bases, level 4. I mean, stopping literally armor piercing stuff. So you're only going to get your level 4s in either ceramic or the polyethylene plates, the UHM WPE stuff. So, like, all of your level 4 you're going to get are going to be those. It's really unfortunate that you got to be careful. You find some steel plates out there that'll say, like, level 4 equivalent or something like that. Be careful with that. That's no one's saying that other than the company that makes it.
Yeah.
So, keep that in mind. All right.
Yeah, it's yeah. I don't play that game, man. I'd rather have something tested than like go off the whether I trust a company or not, basically. Like
I don't know. You gotta have some sort of rating, so otherwise you don't really know what you got until
you know what you got, and hopefully that's not going to be life or death.
Yep.
Well, or death, I guess. Life is cool, I guess. Then you know.
You got to look out for like marketing. What's the marketing motivation, or like sales motivation, where companies are like, giving you information because they want to sell a product.
Yeah.
We don't even sell plates right now. We'd like to one day, but we don't right now. So we're gaining nothing by telling you to get level 4, other than that's what we truly believe. We think that level 4 is just the way to go.
It's just the way you got to do it, man. There's just no way around it. Yeah. I think that's actually a good point. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, there's literally nothing for us to gain by, pushing our audience to level 4s.
Yeah. It even might make people mad. So literally nothing to gain at all. And again, if you've got a lower level armor, that's cool. I'm not saying, you suck, go get rid of it. But I actually am saying save up for level 4 stuff too. And save those those other plates for a rainy day. But you're like, get after it. This is my body armor that you should have for this mindset. Again, I believe is level 4.
I think I'm
beat that horse to the absolute death of the ground.
I think I'm gonna save up for the UHM WPE.
I think so too.
Dude, I want
to get some of those 4-pounders, dude, that you can just chuck around. No, I still wouldn't chuck them around, but
I'm gonna throw them in the washing machine as soon as I get them.
Just spritz them with like extreme concentrated bleach.
MEK, dude. Soak them in MEK, dude.
Oh man. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some recommended armor brands. All right. Hesco. That's it. I'm going to recommend Hesco. There's other ones out there, but here's the deal. This isn't like and this episode is not sponsored by Hesco, but Hesco armor is tried and true. It's very well made. They have very high standards. That company is one of the best companies, hands down, for making body armor, especially ceramic armor. They've got it figured out. They've had military contracts for a long time. them and DuPont randomly. DuPont makes a bunch of ESAPI plates, which is super random. I don't know if you can get them as a civilian, but Hesco, though, has been making armor for the military for a long time. They make armor. They just surprisingly, they make a lot of armor that for like other companies to sell. Like there's a lot of companies that sell armor. You look at the tag on the back and it's like manufactured by Hesco. And you're like, oh, and it's just branded by some other brand. So
Yeah.
that's the only brand we're going to recommend. There's all kinds of companies out there, and I'm not saying they're not good. I don't want to be confusing.
It's what we got the most time with and
But
experience with.
Yeah, it's what we can, with good
Conscious.
confidence, recommend. Yeah, both of those apply. Where do you get them? Honestly, the best place to get Hesco plates right now is on TRX Arms website. Go to TRX Arms, and they have tons of Hesco plates always. Like he made some kind of deal, or they made some kind of deal with Hesco a few years back, and ever since they've had tons of Hesco plates. And honestly, like I was looking around last night when we were preparing for the episode. I was like, where's the best place to get these things? Dude, it's 100% there. So go there if you're looking for plates, order them. They actually do care. Like they have good customer service, and they care about like they're going to ship them properly and they're going to handle them right.
Yeah.
They're going to package them in a manner that
I was about to say, we've
makes
gotten quite a
sense.
few different plates from TRX Arms.
Yeah.
Hesco plates.
So they
So
always come in like that nice foam, like they're
Yep.
packaged good. So, yeah.
which he runs sales too, actually. I don't think that's where we got him, but I don't think
No, it's not.
I don't think when we bought him he was even carrying Hesco back
No.
then. So
He wasn't. That's a newer thing.
kind of
But-
newer. It's been a couple years now, but
Yeah.
yeah, we've had plates forever now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so dude, I about went into like instructor mode. I about said, any questions on body? Somehow.
Well, if you have questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like kind of overwhelming in a way because
Yeah.
there's so much there and we just kind of breezed over it. Like it's like, but I mean,
And it's kind of boring too. Like
Yeah,
the
it's-
information's kind of boring information.
it's definitely boring. It's not our normal podcast that we normally cover. Like we try to keep it lively up in here, but there's just no way to do it. Like that's the only way you can understand it. Like I learned stuff and I even researched this, prior to having come into this podcast, but like I learned stuff just sitting here talking with you. But yeah, I mean, what about also, obviously you can get plates and you could duct tape them to yourself if you wanted, but let's talk about carriers as well.
Well, I think the very first carrier that we need to talk about is the duct tape carrier. I think that's a legitimate. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
if that's all you got, dude, then get your 100-mile-an-hour tape because it's OD
you better
green,
duct tape it up good though, dude.
dude.
You
That
don't
would
want
be,
those plates slipping, dude, once you get hit or something.
dude. I think I would literally like line the entire plate with duct tape and like weave in like shoulder straps of duct tape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so it's like sandwiched in between duct tape.
Yeah.
Dude, I think you could do it. I think you could do it pretty easily.
Yeah. You definitely could.
Yeah. No, but seriously, there's a lot of companies that make really good plate carriers, so you don't have to do that. Again, going to be an investment, but what are some things to look for in a good plate carrier? One really big one for me is fitted plate bags. Like plate bags that are specifically designed for the size plate that you have.
Yeah.
Like we kind of already hinted at it earlier on, but it can be so uncomfortable to have plates sloshing around in a bag.
Yep. Dude.
They'll rub you down, not in a good way.
I mean, there's tricks that you can do to kind of snug things up, but you just want to just get the right thing. Get things that work for each other.
Yep.
It's like you don't want to be jimmy rigging that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't have to.
For sure.
But yeah, I think that's just too easy. Like look what your plate carrier is designed for or have plates and okay, I have the plates already, so I'm going to get a plate carrier that actually works for them.
Yeah.
most good brand plate carriers are going to work good for Hesco plates. So I'm just going to go ahead and say right now.
Yeah, they're going to fit pretty good. Another thing to look for is well-made shoulder pads. And what do I mean by well-made? Well, shoulder pads that make sense. And I'll tell you right now, I've got a couple guys that have a lot of experience wearing body armor for long periods of time. I think there's a few things I like to see. I don't want to see giant pads.
No.
I think people automatically are like, it's going to be a lot of weight on my shoulders, so I need to have these big old, just Tempur-Pedic mattresses on my shoulders. Dude, this giant, floppy, bulky pads on your shoulders are going to drive you nuts.
Now just try to manipulate a rifle with a sling with that stupid thing on your shoulders.
They're going to get hot. They're going to smash your ear pro off. They're going to choke you in some situations. They're just going to be stupid. They're going to flop about. It's just not good. If you're looking at a plate bag or a plate carrier and you see that, like, you can tell that the shoulder straps were just like sewn on, and then the company was like, this is going to be uncomfortable, but don't worry, we're going to add a pad to it. Like, that's a fail. That's a not good. That's a poor pad system.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly one of those things, and sometimes you just don't know until you've tried on different plate carriers. That's kind of like the same thing we were saying in the last podcast. Like, if you're newer to this and you have a group of guys that you train with, try on different plate carriers that they're running.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to recommend a few here, but
yeah.
But I mean, like, you don't know until you try it on. If you got a place, that you live near that actually has plate carriers that you can try on, feel free to try them on. Like, if you live near here, and we don't have like a ton that are available, but we're both running Scarabs, but like, if you want to try ours on, I would let people try mine on. I don't care.
People have come by. We've had people come by before and try them on. We are kind of
thick boys.
We're some big bodied boys, but so we got bigger sized plate carriers. So, dude, Steven and I are just kind of broad shouldered and big chested. That's just what it is. But yeah, we're not fatting around out here. I want to clarify. We joke around about being fat a lot, but I know there's a lot of people that have never seen us before, and I want to make this clear. We're not obese out here in these streets. Okay, we've got some fighting. We still got our fighter builds, but we're just big bodied, man. We're just some big boys. So, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, come try our plate carriers out. Actually, on that, I want to talk about shoulder pads a little bit more. I like, and this is why we run the carriers we do. This is one of the reasons, at least for me. I really like to see low profile shoulder pads. Ours are like sleeve style, so you can take them off if you want, and they have a little bit of padding, but they're very low profile. They're out of the way. I don't ever notice them. It's the right amount of padding.
Yeah.
You don't need a ton of padding because it's just going to get hot.
Yeah, and if your plate carrier rides correctly, it's not going to be all on your shoulders.
Yeah, it's going to be like supported by your torso. Yep. But the biggest thing is articulating shoulder pads.
Yes.
I love that. I love that they can move around and they don't get fused in the same place. That way they're going to ride in the right, like kind of in the pocket of your shoulder where it should be riding,
Yeah,
like it's going to naturally fall into position on your body where it makes sense.
On both the front panel and the back panel, they have like a D-ring that the strap connects into.
And
the shoulder straps.
Yeah.
So they're able to articulate. Which, me personally, I like my shoulder straps up on my traps. I don't like them out on my shoulders.
Yeah.
It's funny because they called shoulder straps. But like, I got pretty good-sized traps just naturally. I don't know why. God made me that way, I guess. But
just yoking it up, dude.
I don't know. It's not like I work out like my traps. Like, I don't just go there and like Tom Hardy it, But
oh yes.
But Yeah, that's where I like to have my weight. Like if I put it out on my shoulders, my arms start going numb and stuff like that. Like I deal with that with packs. That's why I have to run my chest, the chest strap on my pack.
Yep.
Because it keeps it tight up on my traps. Yeah.
So yeah, good shoulder pads, and that can make or break for me. That can make or break a plate carrier. Also, a good cut. This kind of goes into like the shoulders a little bit, but where the carrier cuts in and meets the shoulder straps, like look at carriers that, if it just looks like a big tombstone, that's going to be stupid to wear,
and it's going to be stupid to shoulder your rifle.
Yeah, and it's just gonna suck in general working with other things. Like you got to think about putting a backpack on, possibly putting your plate carrier
presenting
over
a handgun, two-handed.
Being in the prone, like all these things are something you got to think about. So the cut where the bag ties into the shoulder straps and then goes over your shoulders, that needs to be well thought out.
I kind of like when they scoop in.
Yeah,
which that makes any sense.
What drew us to the Scarab?
Yeah,
the Scarab's like, a lot of them have what they call, and you'll see this on plates. It'll say like shooter's cut.
Yeah.
And that's also a type of plate bag. Plate bags would be built that way too. And it's so like basically right at where your pecs are, it'll just cut in, like going up to your collarbone, and it gets it out of the way of your shoulder, specifically for shouldering a rifle and stuff like that. Carriers like the Scarab, for example, take it a step further. Instead of just going in at like an angle, they actually like scoop in, like they kind of like curve in.
Yeah.
And it's really well thought out. Then you've got other kind of designs like the Cry JPC, where they have, the shoulder straps, like the shooter's cut's really pronounced and really well made, and then the shoulder straps come back out. But they
don't articulate though, do they?
They don't articulate. It's like a webbing material, but it's a super thin. It's like
almost like
I don't know if it's Hyperlon. I don't know what it is, but it's like some kind of a laser cut material that's like really thin and strong. But it's so thin that like it crosses that point where you might shoulder your rifle, but you can just shoulder into it because it's so like thin and out of the way. So just the cut, the shoulder straps, and then the cut, like the way the bag is designed to go into the shoulders is really
you wouldn't think about it, but that whole top area is so. That's like can make or break a plate carrier.
Yeah.
Obviously, the actual build and design, so it's not keeping all the weight on your shoulders, is important too. But you're not going to really know that just by looking at it. You can look at, the shoulder area on a plate carrier and be like, "Oh, that actually looks like it would work good."
Yeah.
But the others, like, you just have to wear it to know how it actually rides, I guess.
Yeah. Another thing to look for is scalability. So being able to add to, like expand upon, change, that's what I mean by scalability. Plate carriers what's its number one job? Its job is to carry plates and carry them consistently and as comfortably as possible on you, and carry them in the proper position. And we'll talk about how to position it properly a little bit later, but that's the number one goal of a plate carrier. But it's really nice when they're also built as a foundation to support more gear and weight, load bearing equipment, stuff like that. So there's a lot of things like, this is where like the cummerbund and stuff like that is going to really matter. Having a structured cummerbund that can be added to or utilized for like some of your load bearing needs. If it's got side plates on it, it can't just be a elastic like cummerbund. So something that is scalable, you can add weight to it, and it can support a lot of changes and stuff like that and customization.
Yep.
And then moving right from that into structure and support, needs to be a well-made structural plate carrier. And you can tell that more often than not just by touching it. Like as soon as you grab it, you're going to know. Like all these ones we're going to list in a second are going to meet those requirements. So we're going to recommend some. But there's nothing worse in the plate carrier world than other than like shoulders, which it's kind of funny. If it's got really crappy made shoulders, this also will probably apply. It's probably just a cheap carrier, but if the shoulders suck, then it's probably going to be made out of like really weird, like crappy materials.
Yeah.
And be flimsy and just kind of floppy and big and oversized. Those are all things to make them like cheap and easy to build. One size, they kind of, it'll fit all kinds of sizes, and it's got little like things inside of the bag to, make the plate ride right. No, it's going to be like, again, this is life-saving, life preservation equipment. It needs to be configured and specifically picked out for you. Like, it needs to work for you.
Yeah, and I think another tell sign on that too is like looking at the sewing as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not something you almost have to be like looking at gear or making gear in order to like really like see that kind of stuff. But like if you've been buying a bunch of gear, you'll know like, hey, this is actually really well made versus, hey, this was definitely like made in China, or this is just assembly line just thrown together kind of situation. Yeah. But I feel like the more you shop and look around, and the more like hands-on, like I say, like the more you can like actually go hands-on before you buy, try before you buy kind of stuff, you'll be able to tell. Like, obviously if someone's used it a ton, it may be a little bit more beat up and you can't judge that. But also you can ask the person like, how often have you used this? If it's already like falling apart and it's like no time under it, then it's probably not the best system. But
yeah, for sure. Another good thing too is modularity. This kind of applies, or this kind of ties in with scalability, but most modern carriers are going to have some modularity. That's really nice. It's nice to be able to change configurations.
Yeah.
And make it, again, it's doing its main job of carrying a plate for you, carrying ballistic protection. But then it's made with enough forethought to be able to
pair up with some of your LBE.
Yep. And there's some things I really like to see. And again, all these ones we're going to recommend have thought about this too. If it's not configured with Velocity Systems Swift Clips, the whole Swift Clip placard system, that's the little buckles that are on the front, or the other style is like the hooks, like Faro Concepts really likes that hook, like those little hooks that go up into the loops. That's a good way too to do it. That is, if you have the buckles, that's going to work
with like everything that's offered.
Every bit of LBE pretty much on the market now. That's how everything's ran. Everything's like, you look at shoulder straps on pretty much any modern chest rig, they've got those same little buckles right there. You can unconnect the shoulder straps, and then you can turn it into a placard and click it right into your plate carrier. So that's nice to have. The zipper backs are really popular. Started again by Velocity Systems, and kind of everybody does it now. I wish they would have made it, and maybe they couldn't. There's maybe like patent stuff going on, but I wish they would have just made them cross-compatible with each other. I wish they would. I know. It's really frustrating that, like Velocity Systems zipper bag, back plate bag has the zipper sides. You can zip on. Basically, what it is you can zip on different pockets for your back. You
can zip on entire like
assault bags and stuff.
Yeah, you can do assault bags, or you can do even like different loadouts, like different like molly panels, so like that breaching, way you have different bags and stuff.
You can do hydration bladders, It's really cool.
Which all those companies that have them can do it.
Yeah, but then they all make their own proprietary pouches that zip on, so
yeah,
you can't really plug and play with each other. But so yeah, that's really good. And then tying right into modularity is advantageous, like design features in general, kind of like what we're talking about. Just actually looking at like, and a lot of this is hard to tell until you've got a lot of experience with different plate carriers, which both Steven and I have a ton of experience. I've actually had the benefit of being able to run and wear and own a bunch of different types of plate carriers over the years, and get some really good perspective on them. But you start to see things over time that you're like, like some people get really intense with like the padding in certain areas, and you start to realize like it just makes you hot. And then you realize like, oh, like some of these meshes that are positioned well like help cool. And then you've got other companies that are actually adding like vent channels like into the rigid foam.
Yep.
And stuff like that make a lot of sense. So there's this stuff has been around long enough that a lot of these companies are really thinking about the little tiny details that make it a lot better over time. And again, wearable for long periods of time, because it's get out of the mindset of like, when I put it on and go to the range, it's comfortable. This is something that you're living in.
Yeah. This
is something that you have on, you've got weight in it, you've got all your gear on it, and I'm not saying you can't ever take it off. You can, but if you're in a hostile environment where if you're in any kind of situation where you feel like there is a chance I could get shot at today, then you probably want to have your plates on.
Yep.
And if you do have them on and you're in that world, it's probably going to be an entire day until it's sleepy time, an entire day of smashing around with that armor on.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, you could take your pack off and take stuff off, but that plate carrier is going to be on. And you're going to sit down and take a break and eat. Plate carrier is going to be on. You're going to be pulling guard at night while your unit sleep or your team sleeps. Probably going to have your plate carrier on. So, you got to think about it in that way. So all these little design features that make it more wearable, more durable, more supporting, for long periods of time, and also something that's going to support scalability because it's become a lifestyle. You're wearing it a lot. You're probably changing it up a little bit here and there. These are all things that are going to make a good plate carrier. And again, for this focus of like your kit, your setup that's ready for you to, like, it's going to support you at a moment's notice. It's set up and ready. It needs to be in that kind of mindset.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so anything else? Do you want to say anything else on carriers?
I think that makes sense. I think it's going to make more sense to give people a visual by like giving off
these examples,
kind of like our little list here of kind of plate carriers that get our thumbs up.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, what do we recommend? Well, and these aren't really in any specific order except for the very first one, and that's because this is the one that we've picked. And bear in mind, every single one of these we have personal experience with -1. The one at the very end, and we'll talk about it when we get there. I don't have any actual hands-on at all. I haven't even held it, any experience with it, but I'll explain why I have it in here. Okay, so the first one is the Velocity Systems Scarab. I am a huge fan of the Scarab. It is the carrier that I have picked after years and years of running different carriers, owning a lot of these.
I say pretty much owning every single one of the ones that is in here.
Owning everyone but the last one.
Yep.
Spending lots of time in carriers, seeing a ton of other brands out there. And I just, as far as ride comfort and also support and scalability, I don't know how you beat this thing.
I think it meshes well with our body type as well, though.
And I think so too. Yeah, I think it really does. They also make it in this is rare for people that make plate carriers. They actually make it in different sizes. So
yeah.
Velocity Systems has been working with the military for a long time, so they've kind of had to have that type of production, like scale up to that level of production where they have not only different models but different sizes in those models. That might sound weird, but most plate carriers are really designed for like the bag itself. The bags itself, like the structure of the carrier itself, is designed for like standard size plates.
Yeah.
And they make them one size. And then your sizing for your body types is done in the cummerbund more often than not.
Yep.
Velocity Systems makes them like the bags themselves for like different sizes. And then you can actually upsize your plates. Like if you can get large size plates, like bigger than your standard plate sizes. So, but the Scarab is a fantastic carrier. It's very well made. It's made out of really nice materials. Like, it's very durable. Like, it's extremely tough. It's the shoulder straps are what we were referencing. Like, one of the biggest reasons I got it. The bag cut, they like scoop in, and you can tell that at the top of the bag they were like, let's make it make the most sense for our articulating shoulder straps. Then they've got those D-rings that are sewn in. Yep. So the shoulder straps will move, can allow you to have a little more movement But it sounds weird. You're like, you might be like, well, you want it to ride really consistently. No, it makes the actual plates ride more consistently. So like if you do an awkward, you're in the prone and you're like twisting around or something, your shoulders can articulate, but your plates stay in the same place on your body, which is really nice. That's what
and most of the time,
out.
like wearing it, like just like walking around or like rock marching with it or something.
Yeah,
it's gonna stay. It's gonna stay where it's most comfortable for you for the most part. Like wherever I put it at, that's where it's gonna sit, unless I'm like doing something crazy on the table. But that keeps the armor in the same place instead of the armor like shifting out of position.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the cummerbund, I would highly recommend the mesh and moly paneled cummerbund for it. We got the elastic ones when we first got them, and they're good, but they're very minimal and they're very big. Like I think they're a lot bigger than they need to be.
Yeah,
and they're kind of
they make two different types of elastic ones.
Now they do. They didn't at the time we bought them.
I was going to say they make the elastic that has all the like basically AR size inserts.
Yeah,
which those aren't bad. I don't know.
Yeah, I think having you get a little more structure and support out of the other one. In my opinion. So, if I had a con for the Scarab, I would say it is that the mesh can get a little bit hot. But it's not bad. It's not enough to like be mad about. I've worn carriers that are way worse, like way worse. It actually does a good job. It keeps you pretty cool, but compared to some other ones, I've noticed it can get a little warm, which isn't bad for here.
I was about to say in Alaska, it's nice.
Okay, the next one, and again after that, I mean that's obviously the one that Steven and I run, so that's the one we personally recommend because we came to that conclusion that we like it the best. But after there, the order doesn't really matter much. The other one I'd recommend is the Spiritus Systems LV119. You have the like some of the earlier Spiritus Systems were very very small.
Yeah, it was like
slim.
A thing that was in.
Like those low profile plate carriers.
Yeah,
this is not that.
I don't think that's a good modern Minuteman plate carrier anyways.
No, I don't either.
It's not like you're trying to be discreet with it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's a weird mentality. Again, that's a I'm not saying you can't have that. Like if you live in an urban environment and you're wanting that like that more low profile setup like the Slickster, the old Spiritus Systems like the AC1, those are all like popular. Like the TRX Arms AC1 is a super popular carrier right now. I don't think it's good at all for this. It's not very scalable. That's not what they designed it for either. They designed it to be like a low profile, like get body armor out to people kind of thing at like an affordable price. Like I like the reason they made it, but I think people are just getting that because they're like, oh, that's going to be a great carrier. I've worn them. I've played with them. Compared to these other ones, they just don't ride good.
Yeah, and the make is not nearly as good either. Like
very low quality. Well, no, not low quality. That sounds bad.
But in comparison, it is lower quality for sure. Like you can tell.
Like it's not going to hold up as long.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't
know if that's just the materials
they're
using or what, but like it is noticeable. Like, from like touching and using those plate carriers, like in comparison, it's like there's a noticeable difference.
Like there's some like threads coming out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and we've had a few of them that we've messed with, and and I'm not trying to trash it. And I think the exact same thing was true for the Faro Concept Slickster.
Yep.
Same kind of thing, same kind of materials, very thin, flimsy kind of almost.
And
really
I think you
good.
maybe have to do that in order to keep like a streamline. Like obviously, like what velocity systems use, there's no way they can get away from it just being a little bit more
bulky,
chungus of a plate carrier.
Yeah, because
like
it's a little thick stuff.
Yeah, dude. It's made out of some material, dude.
Yeah,
like it ain't falling apart, but
no, it's not. It's
very much like you look at that and it's like, yeah, this is what military would be issued versus like, oh yeah, this is like what a law enforcement person would be issued. It's like the argument I feel like between like the Slickster and the like like, let's try to keep it as small and minimalist as possible, so it's not in the way of like the person having to drive around in their squad car all day, because they got to be comfortable in their car seat. Where like the military, it's like, we don't care about that. We're gonna make sure our guys are safe and they're not getting,
and it's got to last a long time in austere environments. And again, we're not trashing these. I don't want it to sound like we are, but for this
I'm not
specific,
trashing it. I'm just saying.
No, I know,
for
but
the purpose that we're talking about, I don't think it's a good option.
It's not a good fit. I think it's also you're going to notice that it's going to be highly uncomfortable when you start getting into the multi-day wear of carriers like that. They just don't support the weight the same way.
No.
They don't utilize the structure of the carrier itself to help out a little bit.
Yeah.
The shoulder pads are usually just like thin webbing that's just like over the shoulders, Velcro adjustable. Like there's things like that they have their place. I'm not saying that they don't, but it's not for this. This is my kit in case things get really bad.
Yeah.
Setup. It's that those are more for a different mission. So, and again, I think as modern Minutemen and what we're trying to influence here and what we're trying to support and help is getting people in the mindset of having that, like being ready and being prepared and having the gear associated with that. And again, with that is these more service minded or like more duty focused carrier systems with like level 4 plates.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna predict the future right now. I'm gonna say that TRX Arms builds a plate carrier more in line with what we're talking about in the future. I almost guarantee it.
Yeah,
because
it'd be cool if he did.
That plate carrier wasn't designed for what we're talking about, and I guarantee he knows that too. So, or his designers or whatever. But, so it'll just go to prove that what we're saying is true.
Well, and it became true with two companies that were doing the exact same style. You had Faro Concepts and Spiritus Systems. They both made those super low profile styles, and now their flagship models are not those.
Yep.
So getting back to it, Spiritus Systems LV-119, a more scalable, more supportive, more fighting focused carrier system. It's actually really nice. I was really impressed with the changes that they did make, going from their more like streamlined system. I can't remember the name of what that thing was called.
I can't either.
I always want to call it the Slickster, but that was Faro Concepts. But they were like the same kind of thing.
They're basically the same plate carrier. It's weird.
Spiritus Systems has their quality is just getting better and better. They're really smart too. Like honestly, I think this year when it comes to gear and like GP pouches and just LBE, like expanding LBE, like getting more niche specific stuff, they're probably my favorite company right now.
Yeah, they're definitely they're definitely finding their lane. I feel like it's unique for sure.
And their ability to innovate is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
They're making, it's kind of cool because they started a few years back. I feel like they started making really specific pouches and stuff like this is for this thing. And then, but those kind of took off. Like people were like, oh, these were like, this was needed, like they started making a lot of like gear and stuff that was like, oh man, like more in the LBE world, load bearing equipment. And they've just leaned into that. And I think like a lot of these pouches they're coming out with are very innovative. They're very smart. This last year we've bought a lot of stuff from Spiritus Systems actually. Personally have. But yeah, their carrier's really well made. They've got the zipper backs. They've got their own system with that. They've got a bunch of different cummerbund setups.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. So really good systems to get or to look at there. Faro Concepts, the FCPC version 5, I think, but the FCPC, not the Slickster.
The FCPC won't let me be.
So the Slickster was, and we all owned Slicksters and stuff too. It kind of started. They were kind of the guys that started the whole low profile movement for plate carriers, in a way.
Yeah,
like somewhat scalable, like they're Swift Clip compatible and stuff, but they're super low profile. Yeah, and they were all the rage. I had one for a few years, and then I realized, like, oh man, it kind of sucks to wear longer
time.
than just like a range
Yeah.
session. My original mentality started to come back and to get me. I started thinking about like, what would this be like on a week-long mission or a patrol? Ooh, it would suck. But their FCPC is awesome. It's actually, I think might be bold for me to say, but I think if the Scarab didn't exist, I would have this one, I think.
Oh yeah.
I
Really?
really like it. It's got articulating shoulders.
I won't say what I would have.
Well,
I know what I would have.
yeah.
We haven't got to it
Yeah,
yet.
okay. Maybe. I don't know. I really like that it's got articulating shoulders. The pads are really low profile and nice. Dude, the cummerbund, they have a Tegris cummerbund for it that's really rigid and supportive, but it's like really small. It's awesome. I actually like it a lot. I've got a lot of time on this. One of the guys in our group has it, and he's a big fan of it. And he was like, I was like, man, can we swap? Like, can I get that thing down here for like a long time and run it through its paces? He's like, yeah. So I got to play with it and run it for long periods of time and mess around with it. I did like laundry in it and all the stuff I was talking about. I was like, this thing's sick.
It's got like the Tegris cummerbund done that?
Yeah, that's what I was just talking about.
Oh yeah. Sorry. I might have been blanking out there for a second.
Yeah,
I might have been just dreaming over here about if I didn't have a Velocity System Scarab, what would I have?
Yeah. But again, zipper backs, Swift clip compatible. They do like the they have those little, like they have almost like a little flap up on the chest that's got little like pieces of webbing in it, little looped webbing in it that have those little hooks. Like they have those little placards with the little metal.
I don't know if I like
hooks.
that, but that's all right.
I think they come standard like that, but you can absolutely put Swift clips on them, which I would. I would probably. I mean, all my stuff already is
Swift clip compatible.
kind of Swift clip setup. So, but Faro Concepts really awesome. Again, they make they're actually, I think Faro Concepts and Spiritus are the like closest together. Like as far as the stuff they kind of make, they're very similar. And they make a lot of the same things, kind of different from a different perspective. I hate to, I mean, I'm not, no dissing to Faro, but I think Spiritus recently has kind of pulled away, in my opinion, as far as like just pouches and innovation and stuff.
And I think they're just using knowledge within their actual like hired individuals. Like they've got experience. I don't know what Faro's got, but just from like the video content that Spiritus has been putting out, they've got guys that have been there, done that.
Yeah,
and they're covering a lot of content, and I think it shows in their products that they're making as well. As of recently. Yeah,
I think so too. I agree. Now Faro does make some really cool stuff, so I'm not knocking them.
No, I wasn't
either.
I'm just saying
anything away from them, but
I feel like that's what's driving Spiritus a little bit more. Like that's why they're being so innovative right now, is because they're leaning on some of the guys that they have that have lots of experience within the company.
Yeah.
To kind of be like, okay, like what would you want to have?
Yeah.
If you could have changed anything about what you had in the military or law enforcement or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's why we were enjoying it so much, because there's just some of the stuff they've come out with. We're like, oh man, like that's so smart, you know?
Yeah.
That would have been so nice.
Yeah.
But so yeah. And then here's one kind of, you know, we got your new school Spiritus and Faro guys and stuff like that, and then we're taking a step back, kind of into one of the OGs,
kind of velocity system,
velocity systems. We couldn't make it through this recommendation list without giving them a mention, and it's Cry Precision.
Yep.
Buy once, cry once, dude. Cry Precision coming in Gucci special with the JPC, the jumpable plate carrier. The JPC is a tried and true, like widely issued to like SF community guys or SOCOM stuff, but very respected plate carrier. I will say, for maybe it's my body type, I didn't really like the way the JPC rode.
I don't either,
but I can see why people like it so much.
I know why people like it, but man, it just going back to the whole. I like my plate carrier on my traps and on my shoulders.
Yeah,
that's my biggest. That's my biggest thing with JPC. The straps just sit so wide.
I kind of like mine right in the middle, like right beneath my traps, like but kind of where my
But
traps.
it's still
then
up
go
on your
into
traps.
shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The JPC pushes it out on your shoulders like 100%.
Yeah. Or like towards them, I guess. But
Yeah.
and that's just a personal thing. As far as quality, it's Cry Precision. They make everything super good. They really think about their stuff. They've been in the game for a long time, making really good stuff. So definitely recommend it. I've owned one in the past.
Yeah, they're solid plate carriers. All these companies I would own. Like,
yep.
That's just like my only downside with
the shoulder pads.
It's just the shoulder pads. Mm-hmm. But that's why I say try it. Try it if you can. Try it before you buy it, because if it's not a big deal, then it's a solid rig.
Yeah, and they make a bunch of other stuff too. So, and that's the thing. All these companies, well, Spiritus and Faro not really, but Velocity Systems and Cry both make more than just the Scarab. Velocity Systems, we recommend the Scarab specifically. They make like a bunch of stuff beyond that. And then Cry Precision, we recommend that JPC, but then they have some other newer body armor and stuff are carriers that are pretty awesome too. So those companies are just, going to make really good stuff. And then the final one, this is the one that we don't have any personal experience with yet. But I'll explain why I added them in here. Is Haley Strategic, and it's the Thorax is the name of their carrier. It's pretty new.
We'll probably have experience with it here soon.
Yeah, but we don't have any yet. I almost didn't put them in here, but the reason I did, let me break this down for a second. So I do all the soft goods manufacturing for our company. I do all the sewing, So I'm constantly buying different materials like corduras and webbings and nylons and doing a ton of sewing. So I have a very I'll say I have a decent understanding of how soft goods manufacturing is done, and when I see really good soft goods manufacturing, I'm like, wow, and it's impressive, because when you do a lot of that and you understand the processes and the different sew patterns you can do, how fabrics are cut and finished and different things like that. And I stand by this to this day. All these brands we've listed make great stuff. I don't know what kind of voodoo is going on at Haley Strategic, but their soft goods is the highest quality I've ever seen.
We've always joked around about they just got old ladies in there that are
just killing it,
that are just like been doing it for years, and that's who you got hired. And that kind of got confirmed in that last video we watched of him. Like,
Did it?
I can't remember what we were watching, if it was his belt or if it was that he just came out with. But you see like this older lady's fingers that are painted, like running it through the sewing machine. And I was like, dude, we've been joking around about that for years, dude. And it actually just made it in the video.
He has very talented, or they have very talented sew working going on. And their soft goods department must be really good. They've got really good quality control. We've bought a bunch of their gear too, and we have yet to run into anything that was kind of weird. Like from these other companies, we've had some stuff show up that we're like, oh,
that's kind
what
of
the
a
heck?
weird little. And it's not
I'll
that
have to resew that,
Or it's like that kind of got funky. It must have got snagged up like somewhere. Like it's still solid. Like it's not gonna come apart,
Right.
but it's like this like little wrinkle or something or
Yeah.
whatever it may be. Like
Or
nothing
like you
that
got
big of
some-
a deal, but
You got some frays that are just, they weren't cleaned up.
Yeah.
Little pieces of like thread that are
Yeah.
just kind of like floating out in the wind. And you see something like most people don't even notice that because it's pretty normal. Like you can have really like high end companies send stuff out that's like that. Stuff gets missed. Have yet to see that from Haley Strategic. Watched a lot of their content on the Thorax and why they designed it the way they did. And it's really smart. They've put a lot of thought into it. So I could, even without trying it, and this is very, very, very rare for us. We don't usually do this, but I would say that because of the attention to detail, their quality control, the absolute just craftsmanship that they have in their soft goods, and how much thought they put into their stuff, I could actually probably recommend the Haley Strategic Thorax.
yeah.
They've thought about venting, against the body, and they've done it in a cool design way. Like it looks like a dragonfly on the inside of the plate, but that's all for venting, like things like that. Very scalable, very supportive from what I've seen. We're going to test it. So that's why it's on the bottom, because just because I don't have personal experience with it, it might be the best plate carrier I've ever tried, but because I haven't personally tested it and ran it through its paces yet, I can't, in good confidence, full on recommend it, but I will say it's one to look at. I think you'd be safe buying it. I don't think you'd be making a mistake buying it. I really don't.
I don't think so either. I think, I mean, we'll try to confirm that at some point, but man, it looks good. It hits all those key factors that we were talking about as far as we can tell from looking at it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they have good customer support too, for the most part. Like,
yeah,
I haven't had to send anything back just because it's like the, you know, Leupold versus Vortex optic mindset.
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to because it never breaks.
Yeah.
But
Leupold never breaks. That's what
Yeah.
we're talking about, to clarify.
yeah.
Vortex has like almost a 30% warranty rate or something.
Usage,
So,
yeah. Like
yeah.
30%. It's pretty bad.
Everyone's like, I have a fantastic warranty. And it's like, yeah, Leupold has the same type of warranty, but it's only been used like
1%.
1.2% or something insane. Buy Leupold, ladies and gentlemen. Buy Leupold.
Just a little Leupold plug.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Leupold. That's random. That was a tangent. But anyways, just so you know, I like Leupold a lot. I've liked them for years. They just make good stuff. But anyways, okay, so a couple other things that we're going to kind of close out with. Kind of a more serious tone in this episode, I know. But it's a serious topic, and it's something that we just kind of get frustrated with a lot of the misconception, and then also a lot of honestly, the mindset around it. I think the mindset is the problem.
Yeah.
So, and just lots of, just people that just through their own justification, just progress misconceptions. Like, no, that steel armor is going to stop anything, you know? And it's like, why? Like, what? Why? How do you know? Like, well, because I bought it. And it's just like, no, that's not how this works. So, but just as we wrap up here, some other considerations that I wanted to cover is fitment and positioning. So get the proper sizing for your plates, going back to ballistic plates. There's a lot of standards on how to measure it for your body. Go through that process. Again, this is an investment. You're buying something. You're buying life-saving equipment for you. This is for you to keep you alive, to make it so you can go home to your family. Go through the process of getting it properly sized. Figure out what size you need. And more importantly, once you get it in your carrier, once you get that, get the right carrier for it, like we talked about. Make sure it's going to fit well in the carrier. Get it cinched up in there. Most plate bags have straps on the inside that you can get that plate secured really nice and tight inside the plate bag.
Yeah.
You want your plates to be all the way to the top of the plate bag. And then for your proper ride on the body, you want it to be basically up at your collarbone. You want the top of the plate to be right up at the base of your collarbone.
Yep.
So you don't want it to be
I hate
too low.
seeing people have it so low.
Yeah. A lot of people ride their plates down out at their nipple line. So in line with their pecs. You'll die if you get shot in the chest.
Yeah.
Your aorta, the top of your heart, all that stuff's right there. That's what you want to protect. So that top of that plate needs to be right up at the center of your collarbone there. Where your two collarbone meet in the middle. Your clavicle. Other than that, it's more important to have that height than it is to have it low. Obviously you want to protect some of your vitals down below, but getting shot in the gut, a lot more survivable than getting hit in the chest, in your heart or right in the aorta. You're dead if you get hit there. From a field perspective, you get shot there, clean hit, it's going to be a bad day. Want it to cover your lungs. So that's where, and if you're a big old boy, you're on the weight loss journey and you're probably a little too big for your britches, literally. Thankfully, your vitals should roughly be still pretty covered up by that.
You have more of a circumference where angles start to
Yep.
be a problem
Exactly.
for you,
Yeah.
which is a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. But you need to be losing weight if that's going on anyways. So,
Yeah.
yeah, anything else on fitment? Like riding position?
No, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I can't stress enough, kind of like what you said, like when you're making a big purchase, like buying, actual good plates,
Yeah.
make sure they fit you. Like actually go through the process and measure what they
Yeah.
tell you how to measure.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Like, why
Yeah,
wouldn't
no.
you take the time to measure? Like, you're just in that big of a rush to buy that plate?
And that goes back to that whole, like we say it all the time, buying the gear is the easiest part. So if you're just going through the motions, like, I know I'm supposed to have this, so-and-so said I have, Instagram said I need to have this, I'm just going to buy it so I can start making my posts and flexing on Instagram. That's the wrong mentality. That's a losing mentality.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be buying this with the thought in mind of like, all right, what do I want on me if that, that enemy rifle round's coming at me full bore and going to hit me right in the chest. I better have something that fits, better have the right level, and I better have it suspended in a system that's going to hold it right where it needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so last thing is LBE considerations. And specifically on that, how do you mount your stuff to it? Well, placards make it really easy. You can configure them in a bunch of different ways. There's a ton of companies that make placards now. Every one of these companies, literally every single one of them that we listed, makes placards.
Yeah.
And they make a ton of different ones. Spiritus makes ones, and Faro, but more so Spiritus in this world. They make placards that are configurable from the ground up. You can customize them to the fullest extent. Huge fan of Velocity Systems placards, personally. They are one of the few that comes sewn out of the package where it actually holds 4 magazines instead of 3. So many hold like 3.
Yeah.
Haley's are the same way. He has ones that hold 4. That's nice, especially on a plate carrier. But if you already got a chest rig, honestly, throwing a chest rig over a plate carrier is not a bad way to go.
Yeah.
And if you're not wanting to get involved in placards and full setups and stuff, you're wanting stuff that stays kind of uniform across the board, this is your fighting loadout. Like for me, to simplify it, I got my gun, I got my go-to grab and go gun. I've got my Plat Attack Mark V, which is the chest rig I currently run. Huge fan of that thing for my LBE. I've got my rucksack, and then I can throw my body armor on, and then just throw that chest rig on right over top of it.
Yep.
And it's actually going to ride pretty nice like that.
You're going to have a whole lot more straps and just shenanigans going on, but
You're starting to get BDSM strap pretty quick.
yeah.
but there's a lot of webbing and stuff kind of flopping about, but
it's doable.
it's a good way to go. It's kind of an old school way to go.
I was about to say that was very much done when we were in the military.
Yep, you had your flick,
Yeah.
fighting load carrier, and then your stupid IBA or whatever you had when
But
you
it's
were
doable.
in there. You throw on your body armor, you slide that flick on over top of it and zip that bad boy up because it just randomly had a zipper in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And you got all your gear on it. You can also mount some stuff to your plate carrier. I will say that stuff directly mounted to a plate carrier is a little bit harder to deal with because if you do want to throw on a more sustainment rig, like a big chest rig, like a more
Yeah, you've made it an issue.
yeah, it's not fast. You have to do like unmollying and stuff. So, but if you're swift clipping it, you got some placards that you have on there for like, immediate response kind of stuff. You can just unclick those and then it's off.
Yep.
Unclick it, pull it off, strip it off the Velcro, throw on your larger system, your larger LBE.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of a fan of just running placards, and then it gives you the option if you want to run like a more sustainment,
Yeah.
chest rig, you can still throw it on over top.
Yep.
And ditch your placard, and then you can have multiple placards too for different mission setups and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a much needed information output, I guess, that podcast there. I think it was definitely a lot more maybe dry than some of our other podcasts, but I think it was needed for sure. So
absolutely. I mean, it's just good. It's just good stuff to talk about. It's a good conversation to have. I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about. It's usually discussed on like description pages, and it's very opinion based. We tried to just provide like here's the information about these different types of body armor. Here's the NIJ standards. Here's the reality of like being in a combat environment. These are the calibers you're up against. These are the ammunition types you're up against.
Yep.
A lot of armor defeating ammo. People think about this stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yep. Hopefully that made sense. Again, from that modern Minuteman focus. So for our next episode, we're probably going to take a break from the Minuteman layout. That doesn't mean that we're done with this topic. We'll probably come back to it. There's some other things we think are really important to have, and we want to have those discussions. But I think we talked about in part 3 about doing a podcast on layering.
Yep.
I think that'd be really important, especially because we're in wintertime here. So for all of you Alaskans and then also just people that live in colder climates, it's that time of year. So I think it's a good topic to discuss and break down. Yeah. So we might take a little break from our Modern Minuteman series here, but that might be kind of nice to kind of get in a different variety of episodes. It'll at least be one, but maybe a couple in between, and then we'll get back into it. So a few more parts on this. Part 4 out of the series. If you are just coming into this one, you haven't listened to the other parts, I recommend going back to part 1 and working your way through. It's definitely a series intended to be listened to as a series. So, but yeah, we appreciate you stopping by thus far and sitting down with us and having the conversation, and feel free to hit us up whenever. You can reach out on our website through our contact form, or you can also email us, dynamicdefensesolutionsak@gmail.com. But yeah, if you don't have anything else, Steven, I think that's all I got.
Sounds good. We'll catch you guys next time.